वेलकम वेलकम। आ जाओ, शुरू करते हैं बस।
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, actually, in that problem, the question number one of the assignment, rather than considering the square load, I considered the line load, which was situated at, which was from the center, that is at point one distance. So the values changed.
Yeah, values will change.
So, sir,
Okay.
which one to keep, like the square one or
So,
this?
what the question was? Just let me have a look. Okay, let's take that first. Okay. So, our question was, so we have to shift. Hold on. So yeah, pulling force was mentioned as 10 tons. The idea behind this was to pull the uh, whole beam, not just at one point. The reason being that as soon as you change the pulling for, as soon as you change the application area, the stresses change. So a force of 10 tons that is applied to a single point and a force of 10 tons that is applied to a whole area is different. So that's why the values that you get will be different from different cases. Let's
So
see this
we
question.
consider the square itself.
Yeah, we should generally when we talk about any load that is applied to a face, so uh, is loaded at the other end in axial direction. So generally it is implied that it is loaded throughout the face. Line force, basically what effectively it is doing, I'll show you. So let me take this question. I think that will be easier to explain. So we designed something like a 2 by 0.2, right? So 0, 0 and 0, 2. Oh no. Okay, 0, 0, 0.20 to 0.2 and 0, 0.2 and close. Right, this is the simple geometry. Yeah. So this is our beam. Very simple. इसमें ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं है. We have to just see what kind of analysis we are doing. We have been said that there are two just major conditions. One is the boundary condition that is given here, right? And the pulling force that is given here. These are the two boundary conditions. There is no other conditions on the wall, and the stainless steel properties are given. So that's what we have to use. So very simple. When we do the analysis, we just check what kind of analysis we are doing, and it is in 10 tons, so that's okay. We are not doing a strength reduction, so that's okay, and other things are all in order, so that's done. Then we do the discretization meshing. We can use any sort of meshing setup, like 3-noded, or we can use graded or uniform as well, because it's a uniform structure, so we can use a uniform mesh, 3-noded or a quadrilateral, 4-noded, or whatever we want. So we can do that also, and anything that, I mean, it's up to us. So let's not change much. Let's keep whatever the defaults are, right? And let's click OK. One thing more we can do is, because this is a very unique, uh, regular material, regular shape, we can do the mapped meshing as well. So mapped meshing, if we see, so it is quite generically doing, so it is that way is because it is very symmetric. We can do that. We can improve the mesh quality, increase mesh density, so we can do that as well, and again do mapping because that's done. Okay, anyways, so any sort of combinations you can do. Now what you generally do next is remove these constraints, right? One thing, and we have to restrain this and uh, use this as a force. So now do remember always, whenever you do free the restraints, the freeing of restraints also frees this node and this node. So effectively what is happening is this beam right now is just attached from these 2 points. So that doesn't work for us, right? So we have to restrain it again so that it completely restrains. And even whenever you do these kind of slope stability or any other analysis, also do remember to check if our freeing of restraints have caused unnecessary freeing at other places. So do double check always that. Okay, so one side is done. Other side we put the loading. So in loading, we have so many loadings. So we are going for field stresses. Sorry, someone what?
सर
Yep.
सर मी सर यहाँ पे हम बोथ एक्स एंड वाई डायरेक्शन पे क्यों वो जो वर्टेक्स है दोनों का एक्स एंड वाई डायरेक्शन में क्यों रिस्ट्रेंथ कर रहे हैं सर? वो तो मतलब एक्चुअली एक्स डायरेक्शन में उसको फ्री हो जाना चाहिए ना, क्योंकि वो बस वाई डायरेक्शन में फिक्स्ड है.
कहाँ, एक मिनट, कहाँ गया प्रॉब्लम? राइट, जब ऐसे लिखते हैं, दिस मीन्स इट इज फिक्स्ड फ्रॉम दिस एंड, लाइक एक बीम है जो कि दीवार में जाम्ड है या ऐसा कुछ करके, समथिंग लाइक फिजिकली दैट वे. तो एक्स डायरेक्शन में तो ये होगा इन द डायरेक्शन ऑफ द फोर्स, वाई डायरेक्शन इस ऊपर नीचे होगा, राइट? तो वी डोंट वांट आवर बीम टू मूव एनी साइड, neither here nor here. It has to be fixed at this end. That's the whole question, right? A stainless steel beam which is fixed at one end. So fixed at one end means it's fixed. It is not allowed to be allowed any movement. इसलिए हम लोग x और y दोनों रिस्ट्रिक्ट करते हैं. इस केस में एक ये वो हो सकता है कि if you restrain just the y, restrain just the x, sorry, तो उसमें क्या होगा, y डायरेक्शन में मूवमेंट अलाउड होगा. एंड दिस वर्क्स इन दिस केस बिकॉज हम लोग ग्रेविटी यूज नहीं कर रहे हैं कि ग्रेविटी की वजह से ये नीचे आ जाए. बट इन ट्रेडिशनल सेंस अगर हम लोग ऐसा इफ वी आर डूइंग दिस काइंड ऑफ सिमुलेशंस, we generally do the full restraint. Full restraint means x and y is basically done. Because we are doing a two-dimensional analysis here, it doesn't change much if we do these kind of x and y restraint, or we do only x restraint. But x has to be restrained. Do understand that, because we are going to pull it in this way, and that's the whole point of the question, right? Ki, find out how much is the deformation due to this pulling, right? is loaded at other end in the axial direction, and we have to find out what is the deformation, what is the strain and stresses that are developed, right? So that's why this kind of when this is restrained, it is basically fixed. Understood, Rohan?
Yes, sir.
So it can be y direction you can free, it will have no effect on that because uh, uh, we are not working that ways. But still, better to fix it on both sense when it is asked in that asked like a fixed at one support scenario. Okay,
Yes, sir.
so loading, loading. We have many things. We have to first consider the field stresses. We won't touch that because we are not anyways worrying about gravity or constant. And in case of this scale also, these values won't be affecting it so much unless we are basically having some excavation inside this. So these field stresses basically act inside this box. So if any excavation was there, then this will be active. So with this field stresses doesn't matter in this scenario. If we would want gravity, then gravity will be acting that the beam is basically bending due to gravity, but we don't want that as well. Our question is simpler than that. So then let's not touch it as it was. We are not worried about sizing. So loading in terms of what they ask, we have to basically give some loads. There are two loads here to see the differences in both, and there are other things, springs and all are also there. So if you have any idea of rheology or how these things work, so there are many types of elements that are there. There are loads, there are pistons, there are springs. So all have their own different characteristics, right? So springs also will behave like a absorbent material. If it will be something like F equals to Kx, will be the defining scenario for the spring. Doesn't matter for us right now. So any regular type of loading that is generally asked, like in this case, it is asked like a pulling force. So if it is on the other end, that generally means, if not specified very clearly, it generally means that this whole end of the beam is being pulled. Now, practically, it can be at a point also. It can be like a coupled pulling mechanism. Something might be there, but both of these things will have different effect. I'll show you how. So, like, let's add a distributed load first. So, distributed load, if we add, we had two options, right? A square load or a triangular load. Uh, yeah. So a triangular load basically will be on the like a graded load starting from 0 at one point and maximizing at the other end. That can be the way we can do it. Otherwise, we generally go for a regular load, uniform loading. And in this way, we go for this. So now, how much load should be put? So what the question says is 10 tons, right? So if in that case we basically have to use something like a conversion factor. If from 10 tons we have to convert it into uh, newtons, or in this case Newton per meter square. So and now we basically have a load. Where is the Excel? Sorry. So to convert this, to convert 10 tons, we just have to convert it into these units that we have, right? So how to do that? Firstly, we have this 10 tons load in tons, and we convert it into kgs. So in kgs, it will be 10,000, right? Now we convert it into newtons. So in newtons, it will be whatever kgs into 9.81, correct? And divided by the area. Now, how much is the area that we have to see? So in x-axis, we in the this vertical length, it was 0.2, right? So assuming it as 0.2 into 0.2 square beam, so the area will become 0.2 into 0.2, right? That is 0.04, and so the total load in Pascal or Newton per meter square will be 9.81 divided by 0.04, right? So this much pascals. Kilonewton per meter square basically is kilopascals. So in kPa it is this divided by 1000. इसमें किसी को कोई दिक्कत? So this is what we will put here, 2452.5. ठीक है? And it will be basically okay. So एक चीज और ध्यान रखनी है that we have to take care of the direction. Right now it is basically pushing it. We have to do a pulling operation. So let's do it again. In edit we go for flip 180 degrees, right? So that will basically be a pulling force or pushing from inside, whatever this model wants us to do. So that will work. Now this is one scenario. Swati tried another one. So first let's solve this one and see what we are getting. So if we have to give the material properties before that. So this is stainless steel. Don't forget this. So we are working on field stresses right now. So we are, anyways, it doesn't matter because it will be just based on what forces we have given. Just use any. Okay. And what all properties are given, so we can use those. So it is 2. Okay, I will keep it on the other screen. That will be easy. So it is 200 GPAs. So 200 gigapascal means 200 and followed by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So 200 kilopascals to megapascal to gigapascal. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That will be the number of zeros. Do be careful of that. Because here it is asked in kilopascal, so take care of that. You can change it on the settings if that would have been much easier. We have Poisson's ratio of 0.3 already fed. Density of 7850 kg per meter cube. Now kg per meter cube has to be converted to kilonewton per meter cube. So we have 7850 kg per meter cube. We convert it into Newton per meter cube into 9.81, and that can be basically converted to kilonewton. What is asked? Kilonewton per meter cube. So that will be 76.93, right? So you can change this to 76.93, right? किसी को कोई भी दिक्कत तो पूछ लेना उसी समय. Any doubts if you are seeing कोई चीज समझ में नहीं आ रही हो, we can take those. Okay, and let's keep more coulombs for now. We have tensile strength given to us as 460 megapascal. Should have changed the units initially. Angle of friction is 35 and it has 27. So let's use 27. Cohesion is 500 megapascals. 500. Okay. Okay. And let us assume to be elastic. So because anyways we are not calculating strength reduction, so it doesn't matter for us. Click OK and save again. Compute. Okay. And what you will get is something on these lines. Not much. And in terms of strain, or let's see displacement, we can see what is the maximum displacement we are getting as 1.7 e to the power minus 4. And about the maximum shear strain. So maximum shear strain area we can see, right, where these are being developed. Actually these, if you see why these are being like this is due to meshes. So let me check how the meshing is there. Yeah. So if we refine our mesh, this won't happen. So you see what is happening here. It is calculating at this point. It is calculating at this point, and basically extrapolating at in this area linearly, and that's the whole this kind of scenarios that are coming. They should not happen. And to change this, you can refine the mesh much better. So let's do that. It won't take much time. Mesh quality can be increased. Increase mesh. First, let's increase mesh discretization density. So this is better, and we can increase the element density as well. That's much more mm, lower graded or a finer mesh we have. Let's do this analysis again and see if our changes reflect there. So in total displacement, we have already seen, we were seeing maximum shear strain. So now you'll see that effect is gone, right? So that's how things happen. Still, there is some issue here. So it is using some sort of bending analysis. I don't know why. Anyways, so in this way, basically most of the calculations can be done. Strain, stress, and maximum displacement can be calculated. Okay. Any questions in this? हाँ, अब जो स्वाति कह रही थी, she tried to do the line loading. Now do see, यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है? We are basically applying for the full face. अगर यही चीज़ हम लोग line में लगाते, and let's remove these and or edit these. No, let's remove these and put a line load. So line loads basically just gives us a single point where we can apply. What is this is kilonewton per meter, so we can do that in place of we have already found the load in newtons, right? So we can just divide it by 0.02. It is 0.2, and what we'll have in kilonewton per meter is have in kilonewton per meter will be, or Newton per meter will be this, and in kilonewton per meter we can divide it by 1000. So 490.5. So Swati, did you use this value 490.5? कहाँ गई स्वाति? Is Swati there? No.
Yes, sir.
Eh?
Yes, sir.
That's, so this value you used for 490.5?
Yes, sir.
So let's apply it here. Right. So in this, you can basically apply only at vertices.
Yeah.
So you can apply because this is a line load. Basically, it is assuming that we are applying it and up just at that point in a 2-dimension. If we see in a 3-dimension, we are doing it in a plane, not in a whole boundary. So you can just apply it the vertices that are there. So you can apply it. Can be applied at multiple points as well. If you want to do the same analysis for these, okay, yeah, that will be an issue. So we can do this by basically, you can do the same, but you have to be a little bit like more careful. So in place of normal to the boundary, what we can do is put it on a horizontal direction in a horizontal negative direction. So angle from the horizontal should be minus 180. And oh, not 180 minus 180, same thing. And then we can put, I think, then it will work. So let's put at all the vertices here and see what happens. So this is in negative direction again. Let's reverse this.
I actually took horizontal to the right, like
To the right. Yeah, let me do that also. Line loads. Positive right? Yeah, it will do it. So these are pointed loads. So now see, understand why this will be different and that will be different. This is only applying at these vertices. That was being applied at the whole whole volume or whole area. And the second thing is when the calculations are done for this kind of line loads, basically line loads represent a pointed stretching, sort of like a load is applied here. So when the equations will be defined to find out the things in between, these won't be calculated. But let's see what happens. So let's calculate and check out. So now even the stresses you can see are more focused on these areas as compared to how it was on the last time. In terms of total displacement, it's almost same. In terms of maximum stress, there will be some changes. Again, the principle is same because we are basically doing it on pointed nodes. So the averaging out or the calculations that were based on the previous ones, right? While it calculates based on the basis functions, it basically divides the whole thing and finds out what it is in between. That is not done in this case. So that's why point load is a bit different. However, on the other end, it won't have much differences if you compare both of the cases. Ultimately, on the other hand, the strains and the stresses will be quite same. Even the transformation should be similar, if not exactly same. But yeah, on the pointed level, on the local level, it will be changed. So what did you uh, get some very different values, or just the difference in the patterns of or the contours of stress strain? What was the result you obtained?
So there were different values too. I measured the values only along the vertices mostly,
Mhm.
and the difference wasn't very much, but there was difference, and there was difference in the pattern too. Like it was more.
Yeah, yeah. It, so that's what I'm saying. There will be difference, but because the whole point of why it is different is what we are doing with that. We are basically pulling the whole beam at in one scenario, and we are just supposedly pulling it from 6 locations in one scenario. So even though it won't like ultimately whatever the deformation is coming, it won't be very different, but there will be some differences in even in the distribution of stresses, the distribution of strains, and so on. Okay, so
Doubt
that's what.
arise in one of the versions of the software manual. They wrote that the pulling force can be added separately too by because there is a tab in the loading to add forces. So I thought that if there's a similar thing in this too, but there wasn't, so I got confused.
In it says the forces can be added separately.
In like we have to go to loading, and then there'll be a mention of the forces, and then through forces we can add pulling
Oh,
forces too.
actually, I think though in tutorials I think are older versions because they have changed many things now, and even in further newer versions, even these are also changed. So it doesn't matter for us because anyways we know what we are doing. Uh, Load is basically force, but now they are basically inputting load in terms of stress or pressure. So stress, if they're using, we can convert it in and accordingly use that. That's okay. So that doesn't change much. It in practical scenarios also, if we would have put some force here, it would have calculated stress anyways, because ultimately we have to go for the stress analysis, right? So that's why it won't change. There are differences in versions, so that's okay. Even now, the newest versions might have totally different, so these options also might be changed, but that's okay. Ultimately you should know what you are doing, and that's why and why we are getting what we are getting. So uh, did that help you out? I think the differences are a little bit answered why you are seeing these differences.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, others also do try it out. These are interesting observations when you try new things and see why things are not matching or why we are obtaining what we are obtaining. You have to understand what is happening behind and why it is happening that way. So do solve these, do submit it by for this Thursday. So I hope other things are okay. This one was the first one, I think. Did anyone try this one? Second one?
So, so in the second one, the line that is common to both dump material and foundation soil, that should be a normal line or a like joint, I guess, joint line.
Uh, it can be a normal also. Joint is not required. Why it is not required? If we would have done some stability analysis, right? Ki there is some movement with respect to this, we would have done that. But for now, what is required is just the deformation and the soil movement, right? So with respect, if we generally we put joints when we are expecting any movement with respect to each other, uh, like we put in liners, we put in, if you remember, we did one RE wall example. So in that reinforcement we did. So anywhere we are expecting any relative moment, we can do that. Here we are not expecting that for now, for simplifying this scenario especially.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So try it. It is easy. I mean, I don't know if I have done that already. I don't know. But basically, you have to do it in 2 stages. So do remember to do that. First stage will be only the foundation. Second stage will be foundation plus the dump. And for question B, you may have to basically keep on increasing the height of the dump and see where you reach the critical deformation of the soil. Okay, it is fun exercise. Why it is fun? Because every time you increase your height, you have to change the dimensions altogether. Because see these foundation extensions that you are seeing here, these have to be left so that the proper deformation profiles are being made, right? So maybe if you have like 20 here, you leave a 20 here, 20 here, and 20 like this. So that's a good exercise. But when you keep on increasing this, the lateral extent will also increase. So at one point, this will all be filled, right? So at a particular height, if it reaches here, it will be taking up all the foundation up. So every time you update your geometry for increasing the height, you have to update your foundation soil geometry as well. A good way to do it is maybe you find a ratio. Suppose if you're for now, if you have a 50-meter height, right, for dump, and you assume that a 20-meter soil is there, you always calculate this 20-meter or the depth of the soil that you are considering as a ratio of the height also. So for now it is like 2/5, and so if it is 100 meters for next, it can be 40 meters deep, 40 meters on this side, and so on. So basically your model will be proportionally expanding, so it won't be affecting the calculations due to the geometry. So do try that. When you do all these experiments, you will see practical things that are coming up. Okay. Any doubts in this? Anyone has tried this already? किसी ने करा second question अभी तक? स्वाति ने कर लिया? Found all the units, everything optimized?
So did thrice, but I couldn't really optimize it. I'm still on it. I went to the first question since this was
Okay.
not correct.
You are doing the B one now. Okay. Karo. It's fun. Like use the Excel sheet like I think we did once to find out values for the geometry. That helps because so many geometries you have to change. As soon as you increase the height, you change this point that moves here. You change the center point will can remain the same, but you change this point, you change this point, you change this point. So even if you don't change the foundation, you change all these 3 points every time you increase the height. And if you are changing the foundation, all these things can be calculated based on ratios. So try out. Fun exercise. I think third part, fourth part, and the fifth part are third and fourth are quite easy. Limit equilibrium, I think. किसी ने करा अभी तक third or fourth? स्वाति, प्रभुपाद, कोई और कर रहा है कि दो ही लोग कर रहे हैं पूरी क्लास में? सब कॉपी पेस्ट करते हैं क्या? करते हो ना अपने आप? ट्राई करो, कोई दिक्कत है तो वी विल डिस्कस, दैट्स नॉट एन इश्यू. ओके, इसीलिए whole point of this course is to at least make you guys capable to do these basic simulations. Okay, these are question 3 and question 4 are I think one of the most easiest ones. Question 5 is again very easy. Just using the question 3 and question 4 data, we can do that. So try karo and try and finishing these by Thursday and submit your this one journals. On Thursday, there is a very nice lecture that is being organized. It is by one of the company who are using drone technology for mining operations. So like volume estimations and seeing how the slope is being affected by as with time, all these things they are doing by drone technology. So aerial surveying and all things are done. So we have invited him, the uh, the CEO of that company, so that he can CTO of that company, so that he can talk about it. So that we will be having on Thursday after 10:30. So we'll have a 1-hour class before that, and then we can directly join him. Probably he will be on MS Teams only, but I will find out tomorrow ki kya hai. It's a very nice addition to what we are doing in applications of computer applications in mining. It is a part of that. So do be that present at that talk. So that will be very beneficial for us. Okay, तो आज की क्लास में टाइम है अब कुछ? चलो ठीक है तुम लोगों को. हाँ, so in this assignment anything else? कर लेंगे सब लोग. किसी को कोई डाउट है कि कैसे करना है, लाइक क्या हो भी पाएगा कि नहीं हो पाएगा? अभी तक ऐसा कुछ है? एनीवन दोज जिनको अभी तक कुछ नहीं समझ में आ रहा है, दे कैन प्लीज टॉक एट लीस्ट, सो दैट कुछ तो आइडिया लगे कि क्या है. एनीवन हैज एनी डाउट्स इन दिस? तो मैं एक्सपेक्ट कर रहा हूँ इफ एवरीथिंग इज ओके कि यू डू सबमिट इट ऑन बाय day after tomorrow. Okay, कोई भी डाउट है you ask. Okay, so let's close this and right. So in today's class, what I will do now, we have only 15 minutes. I will introduce very a different method that we use. So now we have done till now the limit equilibrium method, the finite element method, right? And we have seen how different things work. And there are other methods as well. There are many other methods in that sense that uses these numerical relations like stress strain relationships, like the weight or the failure criterias, or n number of parameters that can be used basically to judge whatever we want to. Like finite element, we are judging what is the stress and strain distribution, right? In limit equilibrium, we were trying to find the factor of safety by equilibrium, by maintaining the equilibrium of the forces. Other applications we were discussing about for the finite element were in direction of ventilation simulations, right? In which movement of fluids will be discussed, how the fluids will move, how they pass from one geometry within one geometry to another, if they face any resistance, if they face difference in geometries, if they face some additional pressures, how the flow changes, how the pressure changes, how the velocity changes. And if we have multiple, say there is a gas that is being leaked in underground excavation. Suppose methane is being released at some point due to a borehole or somewhere, whatever the source may be, or there are fumes that have to be ventilated after blasting operation. So how these, with what efficiency these are being done, based on what we have designed, is our ventilation working or not? So all these things will can be done by this method as well, finite element method. But another useful method, again, there are many methods. So this method is also a useful one, and especially applicable for fluid dynamics operations. So how the fluid moves. It is called finite volume method. So just I will give the introduction because we are anyways having not much time. So we are aware that how the finite element method work, right? So if you remember, we had if we saw just a very simple problem of suppose the heat flow that we saw, we know that we divide the domain or the whole geometry into different elements, right? And the nodes were the only positions that the whole calculations were done, right? And how the middle values were calculated based on certain relations, either linear, non-linear, which were called the basis functions. This we have already gone through, and we have done so many examples. We have seen how we do meshing for various scenarios. We just did for our steel bar. We did for slope stability conditions. We do for all the conditions, all the scenarios that we see. For the finite element analysis, we have to basically divide it into sections that are finite elements, and we do the calculations on the nodes, and basically find the solution from thereafter. Now, it is a good enough method. It has overcome many of the limitations that were present in many other methods also, but there are certain limitations based on the calculations or the type of calculations we are doing. For example, just now we saw that there was a beam, right? And in the beam, okay. In the beam, we were seeing that we had made certain meshes like this. Sorry. Right, and it was giving basically some sort of this kind of distribution for stresses and other values, right? And why this was done? Because we had already reduced the number of points of calculations to quite low as compared to what was required for our efficient gridding. So how once, if you remember how we discussed that what is the optimum amount of meshing that is required, so optimum amount of elements that are required. So we can optimize this whole process by seeing that how much is the difference between the correct answers with respect to any increase in the number of elements. So if increase in elements will be changing the answer, and at whatever point it becomes negligible, that will be the optimum amount of elements that are required for any type of calculations. So in that sense, we can do this exercise for our most of our examples, most of our calculations. Again, this is time taking. We have to compute it once, then twice, then 3 times, 4 times, and so on. And we have to see how, if it is changing our results much. So generally what we do, if our computer is capable, we just overshoot and try to get the very high number of elements, and assume that in most of the cases it will be sufficiently accurate for our purpose. However, this is a disadvantage if you reduce the number of elements, and in that case what happens is we do see some data loss, in that sense that what exact value might be in this zone, we are not being represented due to our restrictions given to the model that we can do calculations only at these nodes, right? In many cases, this works out for us if we have very regular geometry, if we have just a linear type of model where just we know that it is totally based on linear equations that are giving us very linearized relationship that we won't even notice that. But for complex geometries and for complex calculations, these things change, especially when we change the dynamics of forces, like we started loading at one point, or we did some restrictions, or whatever the boundary conditions we tried. If as soon as we start doing that, there will be some problems or some errors that will be generated if we have lower number of elements as compared to what will be the optimum requirement. So in stress analysis, we can face these issues of differences, but in general terms, in stress analysis, we hardly go for very accurate uh, meshing unless and until that is our area of requirement. So if we want to basically see the stability of this, or the bar, or if, for example, we want to see if this bar material will be will not break under any loads that we just saw in question 1. So in that case, we can focus on, we can increase the number of mesh elements and so on. But our overall results will be slightly not very much affected by the this differences. However, in cases like computational fluid dynamics, where we have to see the motion of the material or the water flow, suppose, or if we are seeing if we are seeing the flow between a tube-like structure, and we want to monitor how the actual flow lines are there, or how much velocity is at this point or at this point, we have to get quite accurate values throughout this whole volume. And we can do that in finite element method, but again, we have to increase the number of elements. So in order to overcome this, and again, we cannot say this we cannot be done by finite element method, but it can be more easily done by this method. So we have another method called finite volume method. Now, in finite volume method, in place of doing the calculations in the nodes, in place of doing that, we do the calculations in the whole surrounding area of that. So a finite volume is the keyword here. So the divisions are made similar to what we do in a finite element method. In a finite element method also, we will first discretize, and we'll divide it into meshes and elements, and we will have certain elements that may be triangular, may be rectangular, based on what kind of 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional analysis we are doing. But and again, similar to that, we are doing that in finite volume method as well. However, the calculations that are done are different in this, and how they are done, let's see. So in finite volume method, the concept of the calculations is based on the principle of conservation. So conservation basically means that whatever gets in this cell will get out of this cell also. So like the conservation of energy or the conservation of mass, is that mass cannot be created nor destroyed. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed, it can be transformed. Similarly, in this, if we consider a single cell, suppose just this one, so whatever suppose volume is there, or heat is, if we are considering heat, or if any similar condition is there, whatever is going in will also go out. So there will be net input will be 0. And that is what is called the conservation of flux. Whatever the total amount that goes in will be equal to the total amount that goes out, or the net flux or the input or the output will be 0. So that concept basically what it does is basically it divides this up into single volume cells, and the whole cell acts as a box or as a individual unit, and for each of the boundaries that each cell is connected with, one boundary will be the output side or the input side, while the other will be the output side. So for example, these two cells that are being seen here, so the output for this, if this wall represents the output of this will represent the input for the next cell, right? So in this case, basically we are not losing any data. So in that sense, whatever the values we have will continue throughout the whole domain by these kind of calculations. Okay, so uh, now, like for example, this example is given that of a heat transfer problem, where we have the two edges at 0 degrees Celsius, one at 100 degrees Celsius, and another is a sink. Sink basically is that all the heat will be transferred to that. So, uh, so what kind of situation might be? Just a sec. Sorry for that. Yeah. So so in this case, like in this example where the heat transfer is there and we are seeing just one cell how it will behave. So in this also, whatever the heat input is from both of these sides, there will be some heat input from this side and some heat input from in this cell, right? So the summation of whatever the heat inputs are from whichever side will be equal to the summation of whatever goes out. So whatever comes in, whatever goes out, that's the whole principle of this kind of simulations. This becomes easy and this becomes more intuitive when we do the programming for this. Because the programming for these kind of finite volume method is very, very simpler as compared to the finite element method. And it is very apparent why, because now we are just basically focusing on blocks and their edges. And for each of the surfaces that are there, the volume integral v dot ds is 0. So for each of these, whatever the input is there, that will be the output, or the total change or the total surface integral of the volume will be 0. So that becomes very easy to basically program this kind of scenario. When you do this in simulations, like doing it in ANSYS, so ANSYS Fluent, the software that does take care of the computational fluid dynamics, is based on this finite volume method. And there is another same thing for CFD, computational fluid dynamics. Another module is there in ANSYS. It's called CFX. And that is based on finite element method. So both of these will do the same thing. Both of them will be doing the same kind of analysis finally, but the way in which they do will be quite different. This will be much quicker. This will be this will do much more representative work with respect to the amount of meshing or the amount of elements that we do in this. And that's why, because it is more into the conservation sort of the whole equations are more into the conservation of flux. So it is very, very suitable for these kind of where the conservation is required. So conservation principle like heat flow conservation is there, fluid flow conservation is there. So where mass conservation or heat conservation is there, these kind of things. Very, very applicable in those sense, right? Let's stop it here. So for next class, what we will do, or in the lab class, if time is there for us, we'll take up the computational fluid dynamics aspect. We'll see how these fluid dynamics work. We'll see some examples of okay, yeah, that's I have to tell. So, okay, class test won't be on Thursday because anyways, we are having another event that time. And we'll have a small class just to see if we can do some computational CFD. And then we'll move on to that drone thing that is happening. Okay. So not the class test most probably will be on Monday. So I'll let you know on Thursday if it is on Monday. Okay. Happy? खुश रहो तुम लोग बस. चलो. Anything else to discuss before we close? No. So thank you very much. Let's stop here for now. You have some more classes to take too. So do take on those. Do take care of yourselves and be safe. Thank you very much. Thursday को मिलते हैं around 9:30. Okay. And do submit your lab journal से वाले assignment के साथ so that we can start with the new work. Thank you everyone.